Hey guys, so looks like we're live now. Uh, Someone asked me to discuss assault generally, so I'm going to hit on some assault topics today. And if you have any questions, you can hit it in the comments or you can email me. Uh, and we'll just kind of go from there. So, the most common type of assault that we see is a Class A misdemeanor assault. Since it's a Class A misdemeanor, the range of punishment is up to a year in the county jail and a fine not to exceed $4,000. The reason that I say it's the most common that we see is because most of the assault cases that come through my office are assault cases involving family violence. And that means, one spouse committing an act of violence against the other spouse. Typically, it's a man charged, though not always. We do have several pending assault cases right now where it is actually the wife who is charged with assaulting the husband. But speaking in generalities, that's the majority. The big thing about family violence cases is that they carry with them an affirmative finding of family violence, which then has some collateral consequences, including a restriction on gun ownership and gun possession for a period following the conviction. And this causes a problem for a lot of clients. Usually it's because of hunting. Our clients don't want to take that affirmative finding of family violence and then be prohibited from hunting. So, oftentimes this becomes a sticking point in some of our assault cases. There are other types of assault. There's obviously Class C assault, which is a fine-only offense, which obviously doesn't typically involve injury. It's more like a harmful or offensive touching, and the person is issued a Class C citation, a ticket. The thing about that classification, Class C assault as well, can also carry a finding of family violence, triggering the same collateral consequences. So that's something that we're always out on the lookout for. Now, your vanilla assault is, two guys in a bar. That's just Class A assault. Still same range of punishment, up to a year in the county jail and a fine not to exceed $4,000, but there's no family violence finding. And what constitutes family violence is actually very broad. It's almost as bad as if you've ever had a date with this person that can be considered family violence. It is something that, in the correct case, gets litigated in court. And no, Marcus, you do not get CLE credit for this. But it's good to see that you're here. So after we get to the misdemeanor assaults, we get to felony assaultive offenses, like injury to the elderly. That can be a state jail felony, which is 6 months to 2 years in a state jail felony, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. We have assault of a public servant. That's a third-degree felony, which carries 2 to 10 years in the Texas Department of Criminal Justice, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. And when I say 2 to 10 years, as with all these punishment cases, you're also could be probation eligible. We see a lot of assault public servant cases inside of the jail and during arrest for another offense. It has happened where our clients, aren't happy that they're being arrested and they decide to fight the officers, and they find themselves end up charged with assault of a public servant. I had a case recently where my client had a warrant for something simple, and he decided to fight instead of go in easily on that warrant, and found himself now with a third-degree felony. Well, there was two officers who tried to fight both of them, so he's found himself with two third-degree felonies. Now, we talked earlier about assault family violence and the collateral consequences of the family violence finding. Being found guilty of a misdemeanor assault involving family violence has another collateral consequence, and that is that if you are charged again in the future after having been convicted of that misdemeanor, if you're charged again with assault family violence, it becomes a third-degree felony, which puts you back to 2 to 10 years in prison and a fine not to exceed $10,000. And the important thing to note there is that the victim does not have to be the same. So if you had a toxic relationship in your past and ended up with a conviction for an offense of assault involving family violence, and now it's 5 years later and you've got a new relationship and you find yourself charged again, you will this time be charged with a felony for that prior conviction. There are much more serious felony charges that can come. Another one we see quite frequently is what we call choking, but in the penal code it's impeding breath or circulation. That also is a third-degree felony. Same range of punishment, 2 to 10 years, and a fine not to exceed $10,000. The trick about that one is if you have no history but you are accused of choking, you are charged with a felony. And we see a lot of those cases. I don't want to give away too much of how we defend those, but the key element is that you have to impede the airway, and the officers have to seek that and get that testimony out of the victim for you to be correctly charged in that case. Moving on from there, we have aggravated assault, which can be serious bodily injury, or it can be if you use a deadly weapon, and that will get you a second-degree felony, which is from 2 to 20 years in prison and a fine not to exceed $10,000. The aggravated assault with serious bodily injury, about the easiest way that I can explain that is if it causes the loss of use of a body part or function for some period of time, then it would qualify as serious bodily injury. So you can make that as complicated or as simple as you want to. If I break your arm and your arm's in a cast, you've lost the use of your arm, so that can be serious bodily injury. If I break your jaw and you have to have your jaw wired shut, you've lost the use of your mouth for eating, that would be serious bodily injury. I think hopefully with those two you get the idea, but the injury has to be severe enough for you to lose the body function or the use of a limb for some period of time. The period of time is not defined. Then we have another family member, which is if you commit aggravated assault, so either by serious bodily injury or with a deadly weapon, That would be aggravated assault against a family member, and that is a first-degree felony, which makes you a punishment range of 5 to 99 years or life, and again, a fine not to exceed $10,000. So that's, broadly speaking, these are the types of assault we deal with in a general manner. And I see Liliana Suarez, which means that El Cubanito Loco, El Hijo del Cubanito Loco is watching. But let me see if we have anything else in the chat. I don't see. So I've given you the ranges of punishment for all the assaultive offenses. I didn't have any more specific questions about assault. Obviously, each case is different regarding the facts and how we would defend it. So it's hard for me to tell you, how to defend each type of case, because I would have to have a fact pattern to tell you what I thought. A lot of times, especially in family violence cases, it comes down to the cooperation of the complaining witness, and many times the complaining witness does not wish to cooperate with the state, which sometimes results in the case getting dismissed, sometimes does not. It depends again on the history. I have cases quite frequently where people have been married for 20 years and get some alcohol involved, and all of a sudden one of them strikes the other one, but it's a one-off. It's not a repeated situation, and the victim no longer wishes to pursue charges by the time we get to court. And many times we were able to successfully convince the DA's office to dismiss those cases because it's clearly not a criminal and it's not a pattern of abuse. And obviously I've defended the other where I've had serial abusers. I mean, there's just, we can go on and on. I've been licensed since 1998. So the number of fact patterns I have floating around in my head is almost never ending. But if someone has a specific question, just let me know and I can address it on the next live. I've missed the last several. I'm trying to get back on track to doing them on Tuesdays. What we have considered is if I find that I can't go live on a Tuesday at 3:30, I will have some pre-recorded videos that we can then load on Tuesday at 3:30 in the event that I can't make it live. But since I'm trying to come back, I hope to see y'all more often. Y'all have a good week.